I bid you welcome.
I welcome you to my house.
Welcome to my house.
Welcome to my home.
Hello Horror Hounds, welcome to my horror house. We're going to be talking about James Wan's Malignant this time round, a movie that I found to be at turns super frustrating and at other times really, really fun. I am grateful to Malignant because what it has done is it's finally enabled me to completely nail down why I've never been 100% on board the things that James Wan does. Malignant follows a character called Madison Mitchell, played by Annabelle Wallis, who, in broad terms, I'm not going to spoil any of the film, but in broad terms, and this is in the trailer, she starts seeing visions of murders happening and realising that she's sort of watching them in real time and decides to try and investigate. That's it. I saw the trailer for it and was just completely meh. It did absolutely nothing for me. We've seen this tons of times. It reminded me a little of James Herbert's novel Moon, where exactly the same thing happens. And I wasn't bothered. There was nothing about the overwrought, really overproduced trailer that made me want to go and see it. And then reviews started coming in and I saw, that the film was deeply dividing people. That always gets my antenna up. If people rapidly love it or really aggressively hate it straight after seeing it, I'm like, ooh, there's something there at least. And people were talking about how the final act or the second half goes absolutely gonzo, and everyone was very keen to keep that under wraps. So my interest was piqued, and I had to see it to see what all the fuss was about. And this highlights a problem with selling movies that have secrets. You can't sell the secrets, and the trailer hints not one jot as to what is to come later on in the movie, but it's only by knowing that there's more, there's something to come, that I was interested in seeing it. So I was put in a very strange position of waiting and expect. Imagine if you'd gone to see The Sixth Sense, knowing that there was going to be a revelation, a twist. You'd probably have got it. Selling movies like this with grand reveals that you want to keep 100% under wraps is so difficult. The other thing that piqued my interest is a lot of people on Twitter were saying that this is James Wan's love letter to Giallo. And hello, tick, 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 that's me all over. I've got to say, I don't know where that comes from. Using a lot of red lighting does not a Giallo make. And I don't think one was at all attempting to make a Giallo movie. Personally, I think there are more nods in Saw to the works of Dario Argento than there are to Italian horror cinema in Malignant. That said, there's a little bit at the end that reminds me very, very much of something Lucio Fulci might have done. This is an absolute grab bag of references. And what Malignant most specifically drills down into, I feel, for its source material, is the kind of late 90s, early 2000s cycle of horror movies, which are coming up to about 20 to 25 years old, where we're on the cusp of horror movie makers now referencing that period in the same way that directors in the 80s were referencing movies that they saw in the 50s. I actually think that Malignant is spearheading that move to reference films like there's a building in Malignant which could have come straight out of the Dark Castle cycle of movies, especially The House on Haunted Hill. A couple of nights ago, I watched Darkness Falls again from 2003. I was like, Malignant is exactly in the same wheelhouse that something like Darkness Falls or The Boogeyman was in. Right down to, as I mentioned a minute ago, those overly showy, overly produced, CGI heavy transformation scenes where she goes from her reality into the visions I mean, I watched the trailer and thought, this is all the whistles and bells. I don't like this style of filmmaking at all. In the context of Malignant, it's actually quite a lot of fun because it absolutely nails the complete and utter over-reliance on swamping everything with CG that happened at that time. So that's within the context of the movie's reference points. It's absolutely spot on and actually quite enjoyable with a knowing wink. Make that a selling point of the movie. It looks like trash. And so here's the problem I have with Malignant and, to a larger degree, all of James Wan's films. And it is a problem of my own making. I think I'm slightly too old. I think if I were 10 years younger, I might not get all the movies he's referencing. And what it meant for Malignant was that going in now, knowing that there was going to be a bravura, a gonzo, a completely out there final act, I sat there literally during the opening credits thinking, oh, this credit sequence is reminding me very specifically of another James Herbert book, and very specifically of a Stephen King book. And I won't name the books because that will spoil the movie for you. Some of you may be able to work out which James Herbert book and Stephen King book have similarities, and you may be able to work it out from there. And I sat and I turned to my partner during the credits and said, well, this credit sequence is making me think of this book and this book, so I hope this isn't going to happen, and it's something more, because Twitter's exploded with how crazy this revelation is, and I really hope I haven't just guessed it because of the imagery in the opening credit sequence. Sadly, I had, and I'm not a guessing kind of guy. I did not see the twist in The Sixth Sense coming. I'm not one of those guys. It just so happened that because I've read all of this source material and watched all of these movies from my youth, James Wan does love to signpost his references. You can see them coming a mile off. That's why I was never completely on board with The Conjuring, because whilst it's brilliantly made and it's probably the best of the Conjuring franchise, that or Annabelle Homecoming, I sat there the first time I watched The Conjuring going, oh, that's from The Exorcist. Oh, here comes a bit from the Amityville Horror. Oh, we're back to The Exorcist now. Some more Amityville Horror. I loved Saw, and it's sprinkled through with details of Dario Argento. I really like Dead Silence, which seems more original than some of his other original stuff. The Conjuring and now Malignant and things like that, which are original properties, are so peppered through with references that if you're as long in the tooth as I am, that those references are some of your formative horror experiences. They're not done in new and exciting ways. They're just repackaged, and I get a little bit grumpy about that. Now, for someone who's not as ancient as me, I can absolutely get how The Conjuring is going to be the most exciting ghost train roller coaster ride you've probably been to see at the cinema. And something like Malignant, if you've never watched The House on Haunted Hill or Darkness Falls or earlier wacky things, it's got a lot of the spirit of movies like Basket Case from the 80s and stuff like that going for it. Again, Malignant is going to seem like an absolutely wild roller coaster ride, especially towards the end. If you've guessed what's going on and you're waiting for the shoe to drop for the first hour plus of the movie, I started tapping my toe, and then all the little clues get dropped. You're like, well, yep, I know, yep, I get it, yep, oh, yep. Can we get to the bit where it's going to go insane? I know it's going to go mad. Can we get to the mad bit, please? And boy, does it make you wait. And when it comes, it's glorious. And I will return to see Malignant again. I think I'm going to definitely get over myself and watch it with some beers and just have a fun ride. And it looks gorgeous. James Wan knows how to shoot a film. He knows how to get his cinematographers to get the best out of what he's shooting. The man knows how to put together stuff like this. I just wish I couldn't see the clockwork of his movies as much as I can. I mean, I might be slightly reaching here. There's scenes set in the Undercity beneath Seattle, which is a great location, and I don't know why we don't see it used more. Not shot on location, by the way, but staged as that Undercity. But I was sat there going, oh well, that was used in Kolchak the Night Strangler. So I'm programmed to just be grumpy every time James Wan front and centers his references. I know Wan didn't direct Conjuring 3, the latest Conjuring movie, but there's a shot in that which is, to call it an homage to a shot in The Exorcist would be kind. There is an exorcist who gets out of a car and looks at a house and there's a beam of light, and I just, oh come on! There's referencing, and there's just making a collage of bits of other movies, and I think that one skates too close to the latter rather than the former. I like it when he does new stuff with the source material that we all love, but too often I can see his working out, and that's a personal problem for me, and I should maybe get over it. I can see why other people absolutely dig it. It's so frustrating. I get a little bit grumpy about that.